Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Social Web Cafe interview. And today we have David. And David, I wanted to ask you because I don't want to butcher your last name. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and it's an opportunity for me to learn as well how to pronounce your name. So go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi, Deborah. I'm David Leonhardt. Don't worry, my name's been butchered in every way possible. You can't do worse to it.
Oh, good. Oh, good. And actually, that is how I've been pronouncing it. I do get my tongue a little tied on that one, but I'm relieved to find out that was correct. So let's start out. Okay, I know we've chatted on Skype, we've chatted like in comments and all over on the web, which is really why I wanted to interview you because you're like everywhere. So let's
And
start
so
out.
are you.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. I want to get to know who David is. So could you tell us a little bit about you, your background, kind of your path to where you're at?
Well, I've actually had three careers. I started out in politics, working for a Canadian member of Parliament, cabinet minister. A bit of a jack of all trades training for pretty much everything. Then I went on to become a consumer advocate with the CAA, which is Canada's affiliate to AAA. Did that for a few years. That was a lot of fun. Then I did what so many people do. I had a child, and the downtown condo thing didn't work. So I decided to go into business for myself out in the country here, and where you can see a little bit of the reflection, I think, of snow outside on my face. Um, Started out doing mostly writing and SEO, two things I found I was good at and enjoyed. The writing has blossomed beyond just being me as a freelancer to coordinating a team of writers. And in the meantime, the SEO has morphed itself into more social media and content promotion, which gives a chance to both to write and then to spread the word, which the two things I enjoy doing. And that's where you see me all the time today.
That's a hard balance. I can say because I write and I promote, and I feel like they're like two hats, and it's like, okay, take the writing hat off, now go promote what you wrote. Do you find the balance a little tricky?
Uh, the main balance really there is that the writing requires concentration and focus. You have to be able to shut off social media, shut off networking, leave the phone to ring. Whereas the promotion requires you to be a little bit of everywhere, certainly the way I do it, which means, yes, networking on Skype, being on Twitter, on the smaller social bookmarking and blogging communities, on Facebook groups and Google communities, and a little bit of everywhere. So there is a challenge. Certainly, if you spent a little while doing promotion, then you have to hunker down to do some writing. Sometimes one part of your brain doesn't want to stop, and that does become a bit of an internal conflict.
Yes, that's where the writing in the middle of the night seems to work for me because you mentioned something about let the phone ring, and I have a hard time like letting Skype go off without responding. So it's like somehow in the middle of the night there's less Skype going on, so that's a great time to write.
When do you sleep?
Yeah, well, in between, somewhere in there.
But that's a good point though, because certainly when you are living in real time on social media, if you're going to do uh, a lot of promotion on social media, you need to understand your own not just circadian rhythms, but your other rhythms. I've certainly found that when it comes to doing something where I'm focused and concentrated, like writing, the second half of the morning and the second half of the afternoon and the first half of the evening work much better than early morning, early afternoon when I'm getting a little drowsy, or late in the evening where I've had it for the day.
That's interesting. I was going to ask you that as far as kind of what your strategy, your pattern in the day. Do you think that varies for different people depending on, are they a morning person, are they an evening
Yeah,
person?
absolutely. As you said, you find it easier to write at night. And unless I'm really wound up on an idea, which I could probably go all night then too, if I have to actually start a project late in the evening, it's just not going to work. Or if it's a project that requires a lot of research, so I'm not on a roll then because I'm constantly having to find the links and follow them and dead ends, start again. So everyone's going to find their own best times, but the key thing really is to be able to separate the times when you're working in real time, juggling multiple networking tools or venues, and those times when you're doing things that really do need to you really need to concentrate to be able then to just shut it off.
Makes sense. Okay, sidebar, total selfish question. What part of Canada? I should know this, I know.
I'm in Eastern Ontario, so about an hour south of Ottawa.
Okay. All right. I ask selfishly because I might be in California, but I'm actually half Canadian, so I'm always. But the thing is, there's no wrong answer to that because I have half my Canadian families over in Ontario, and then half the families in Alberta. So you can't go wrong on an answer to a Canada question.
Well, I've heard statistically that Los Angeles is actually the fourth biggest Canadian city.
Really? That's
Canadians get into entertainment and they go down there. And yeah, supposedly there are more Canadians in Los Angeles than there are in Ottawa, although that may have been before the municipal amalgamation. Ottawa might be bigger now.
that is really interesting. Can I borrow that quote? Do I give you credit, David, for saying that?
It, I certainly didn't invent it. I've never looked at the stats, but I have heard it referred to a few times. And whether it's accurate or whether there just seem to be so many Canadians that have gone into entertainment and the movies and such, I can't tell you.
That makes sense. The other part of it's the cold. I went to visit family, and it's like, okay, I'm really gonna be happy. I love you guys, but it's just too cold.
Honest, I'd rather have done this interview in person there in your studio for no other reason to escape the snow.
Oh, there we go. That's a good way to do it. Okay, back on topic. So you don't have to give your secrets. I wouldn't ask you to do that. And I do know that some people are like everywhere on the net because they hire people to help them. So and again, answer this however you want, or you can just say, forget it, I'm not answering this. What's your trick? How do you be everywhere in a 24-hour period when you have to actually sleep and be with family some of the time?
Well, okay, I can answer that question in three ways. The first one is just you have to be insane, which sometimes I think I am, but that might not be useful to your viewers. You have to be good at multitasking, and as I said earlier, to be able to separate when you're going to multitask and when you're going to focus. To some degree, that answers the question, but I think the main answer is that it's a strategic decision. If you've made the decision that you're going to make social media and online networking a large part of your business, your customer acquisition or your reputation building, whatever it is you need to do to make your business work, then you have two approaches you can take with social media. And you'll hear people advising one or the other as if it really is one or the other, but it's not one that's right and the other that's wrong. It's a strategic decision. You can either go concentrated or you can do the be everywhere approach. And I've chosen the be everywhere approach. If you, what was it, in Blogging Cage this morning, there was a post that I was one of 12 experts, if you want to call it that were interviewed. Zach Johnson, interestingly enough, talked about his be everywhere approach, and I really like that because it's similar to mine. Try doing some guest posting, be on as many social networks as possible, and have a good footprint on each network, etc. Other people have gone a different route. An interesting situation over the last 4 months has developed where the new social network Sue came up, which is a little bit like Facebook, but it pays its 90% of its revenue out to the users. So a lot of fanfare, and Ron Kalari joined and invited me to join. He's my parent there, so we joined within, I guess, a day of each other. He and I have very different strategies. I want to make sure I have a good enough footprint there that I can be networking and useful with the people there who might also be on other platforms, a lot of cross-pollination. He has taken a totally different approach, and always has, in that he's decided he's going to focus on this and become known for his expertise in Sue. So he's still active on Facebook and on Twitter and a few other places to a small degree, but you'll watch a lot of his activity there is focused on Sue. And you know what? He's become probably the top, the best known guru now for that new social platform. If it becomes massive, he's going to have hit the jackpot. But his approach always has been to focus on just a couple places at a time. And so you won't see him everywhere. Whereas me, you do, it's true. You see me everywhere, and I don't rule on any place. But I do see you in a whole bunch of different places. I see other people in a whole bunch of different places. If you've done something really amazing, a great piece of content that I want to share, I can share it on multiple places. If I would like your help in sharing something amazing that I put together, I can ask you to help me in a number of places. So it's kind of, do you use the rifle or do you use the shotgun, and what's the best approach?
That's a
And I'm
really
not
good
everywhere.
illustration.
Yeah, and I'm not everywhere, by the way, and that really would require forgetting sleep and family. I'm not on Instagram. I have very little footprint on YouTube. I haven't tried Empire Avenue, and I don't want to get bogged down in that. But yeah.
There's, do you know, to be everywhere, what was it? I downloaded a plugin. It was like, okay, sign up, and there must have, or like, what is it? The ad, is it ad share? No, I'm totally misquoting myself, so I'm not even going to embarrass myself further. But anyway, some of these where it's like, okay, add this network, this, and you look at it, and there's like 200 different social networks you could add, and some of them I've never heard of, and some of them are in some countries that I didn't know they had a social network in that country. And I mean, it would be the literal be everywhere. I don't even know if that's a possibility.
Probably not, unless, as you said, you do hire people to help you, and that's a possibility. It's a little bit dangerous because social media is social, and you're letting someone else control an aspect of your reputation. So you have to be careful who you outsource to and what aspects you outsource to, or to outsource to them. So you be very careful. I generally don't outsource social media, and as a result, no, I'm not everywhere. As I say, I try to have a reasonable enough footprint that I can interact with people, and in most of the major places, and certainly those smaller places, not a smaller place in Korea or in Vietnam, but those that, for instance, sites like King and Clink and DoSplash and Blowcube and BizSugar, places where other people involved in online promotion are also active.
That makes sense. You just listed a whole bunch of them. They're very helpful, and I'm not sure that I'm on all of those. I know Blowcube, I'm on that one. King, do you have like one of those that you just listed that's your favorite, or something that you'd say provides quite an ROI as far as your
Well,
investment?
among those, I really do like King, and I can chalk it up to one reason, and it's really quite amazing. The moderators there are very, I don't want to use the word pushy because that sounds bad, but they really do urge you to participate, and you end up getting a lot more comments. So technically it's a social bookmarking site, but it tends to be more of a community, and it does, for its size, get a fair amount of traffic, and it tends to be good quality traffic, engaged traffic. If your goal involves interacting with others in the online marketing community, then King is somewhere you really should be.
Good recommendation. So I'll be listening to this. Be sure to go sign up for King. You heard it now as far as the return on investment. And David, I love how you broke that down into like the two. You have to decide yourself as far as what your objective is with your business, to be everywhere or to concentrate.
Right.
I mean, that's brilliant, because I think so many aspects of strategy just fall under those two different approaches.
Right. And some people will tell you you absolutely need to concentrate. Focus on a few Google Plus communities or a few Facebook groups, and that's not bad advice. It depends on what is the best strategy for whatever approach you need to take for selling your product, your service, your reputation, whatever it is.
Which
So
also,
there is another secret. You called them secrets, or I won't call it a secret. And I don't do a lot of automation, but I definitely do participate in some sharing communities. Viral Content Buzz is amazing. Triber really works well as well. If you are creating your own content on your own blog, then, and you've got an RSS feed, then Triber is very good. Brings a lot of shares and traffic as a result. And there are probably 100 or 200 or 300, I don't know how many sites out there that do this. Something similar, at least, an exchange for credits, or in some way where you get to share what you wish, and in exchange other people who wish to share your content. So Triber, Viral Content Buzz. I also like Social Buzz Club a lot. Not as much sharing, but very high quality, and Just Retweet as well. So those 4 tools. There are some others out there, but those are the 4 I use.
Those are actually the 4. I used to use Easy Retweet a while back, but I've done more just retweet. But especially Social Buzz Club, Viral Content Buzz, I like the quality in those.
And Easy Retweet, I use it a little bit. It's the borderline one. The problem is that they just let too much spammy stuff in.
Yes.
So you have to
And
be really
then
careful.
there is an option on some of those as far as pay. I've done that on some of them where I pay so that, pay for the
Mhm.
credits that I can give to people. Because yeah, Easy Retweet, I have to go through several pages before I find something that I want to share, and it ends up being someone that's probably on Social Buzz Club or just retweet that I could just go straight there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Excellent advice. Okay, here's a question for you. How would David like to be known? Like, I do like the happy guy. I love your motto on your website, the little smiley face.
Mhm. And yeah, and that has there's an interesting story to that because back many years ago when I was living in Toronto and my wife was doing her finishing her university degree part time at a distance, evenings with nothing particular to do, I decided I would finally write that book on happiness that addressed habits. It's called "Climb Your Stairway to Heaven: The 9 Habits of Maximum Happiness." So
Is that
that was
available?
yeah. You go to
Can people
Amazon,
order?
you'll find it.
Okay.
Climb Your Stairway to Heaven: The 9 Habits of Maximum Happiness. It came out in, I think it was 2001. I was offered to write a column in a magazine that they were still putting together called The Happy Guy. So I thought that was great. At the time, I was doing the circuits at BNI meetings, Business Networking International, where people get together to share leads. And at one in particular, I introduced myself by name and called myself the Happy Guy just on a lurk. And after the meeting, 4 or 5 people came up to me and they'd forgotten my name. They remembered the Happy Guy, and an hour later, I had registered the domain. At that time, of course, to sell books, but it morphed into my writing and promotion, and it still works. Our goal is to if you ask what image I'd like the image that I'm someone that is happy, that makes people happy to deal with. That generally it's a pleasure to work with us, and we try to make it so.
Well, I think that works. I think subconsciously, as far as, I mean, I think you're a really nice, happy person anyway, David. But I mean, it helps when you have that branding because it sends people that direction as far as being, a predetermination to say, oh, he's a happy guy.
Yeah.
That's very positive and very encouraging. In fact, just talking to you, I'm thinking of all these things that are going on that I've got to go like in a Trello board and make a list of things to do just because you're so, I mean, you inspire me and the creative juice is flowing. So thank you for that, David.
Well, that's good. I'd love to be known for that.
The happy guy that actually inspires creative ideas. That's good. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And before we go, 2 things. That actually, you've given so many tips, but if you want to like summarize all the tips or one particular tip that you want to leave people with, like an action step that they can go do after this interview, and then where to find you. Although I think if you search for the happy guy, maybe fine. So go for it.
If I was to leave one tip, it would be to take advice from people with a grain of salt. You have to do what's going to work for you. So I can give you my experience. I can tell you what worked for me. Because it worked for me, yeah, maybe it's worth your trying it. But I don't hold the secret. None of the other gurus and specialists and experts or whatever label you put on them are going to have all the answers for you. You're going to have to figure it out for yourself. And, so people like you and I, we tend to have a bit of a spotlight and we have the opportunity to share our experiences. And that's wonderful. And as you said, it's great to be able to inspire. But ultimately, people have to decide what's going to work for them. There really is not one answer. There's just lots of them. So yes, if you want to find me, my website, you should be able to read it on the bottom third there, thgmwriters.com. We are happy to write. We're happy to edit, whether it's online stuff like blogs and content or offline stuff. We do a lot of books, press releases, sometimes reports and screenplays even. My favorite are writing best man speeches. Not a lot of money in that, of course, because they don't come along every day, but they're fun. They're happy occasions. I really enjoy writing those. Corporate speeches, whatever it is, we do pretty much every writing except technical writing and resumes. We let others focus on those.
And by the way, guys, I can vouch for David. He has a very creative writing style. I think I told you the other day, David, I tend to skim articles, but when it's one of your articles, it's like you just draw me in and I want to see what happens next.
Well, yes, you left that comment. In fact, I'd written an article called "Set Fire to Your Septic Tank," and it was good business advice. But yes, you left the comment, and I think a few people found that the title a little intriguing. So
It was, yeah, set your septic tank on fire. That there's another little piece of advice, guys, for whatever you can take out of that. That's very creative on David's part.
yeah, but it's from a true story. One of the great things about being a writer is if you can find inspiration in the craziest places and bring it in and zero it into to real life advice, whether it's in business, health, it doesn't matter whatever field you're in, whatever your niche is. If you can do that, that certainly makes it more interesting than just droning on with the same old advice you give day after day.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, David, for joining us. I'm looking forward to even sitting back and watching this just to hear your words of inspiration. There we go.
Well, thanks very much for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Excellent. And see all of you on the next Social Web Cafe interview. Thank you.